what's up, guys? And so it's summer movie season that has officially come to an end. We've had tons of movies come out this summer, from May to August, and even with these films that were good, and even sometimes that were like sort of good, but like even that they were not good, even the ones that were causing bombs, and so much more as well. And so in this video, this will be my full ranking of all the movies I saw this summer ranked, and these are kind of like all the summer movie releases in theaters, and I think for what we should expect for the rest of the year when other movies come out as well. And so if you're new here, hey, don't like this, be sure to subscribe and click the bell so don't miss out on videos of this. And so let's get into it. And now, starting at last place at number 17 is Made 2, the Church. Now, especially with the first one, which I found to be okay, and even with the film, it does not beat Jaws, but even with the sequel Made 2, the Church, but I found this to be okay, but it was not great by any means. And even with this film, I try to incorporate so much stuff. I try to make its own, like Jurassic Park, and you'll know what I mean if you've seen the movie. But even as I try to incorporate so much stuff, and I feel like a shark movie, it tended to focus a lot on the human part and not on the sharks. And even with the Jason Statham, I love him as an actor. I thought he crushed it in this film. But even so, I think it took it's so long to get to the main point, but it totally felt totally dreadful. It was certainly not great. But even with the whole fiasco with the sharks, and even with like the last 15 minutes of the movie, it totally felt like a shark movie. But even though with something that was definitely a snoozer. And next, at number 16 is Haunted Mansion. Now, this is based on the ride at Disneyland. Plus, it has like a sad cast with Rosario Dawson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Dave DeVito, especially with Lakeith Stanfield, which I found to be the standout. Even with Dave DeVito, which were also standouts, and even with also that we brought the comedy, but even with the film that had like scares, all those spooky vibes, that made for like a fun time at the movies. But even with like some parts in between, it give me a little bit dull and interesting, but I found it to be a funny movie. Again, I didn't love it, but I certainly did like the movie. I thought like it had some pretty good jump scares for a Disney movie, but it was I just enjoyed the film either way, but I thought it was really good. And next, at number 15 is Blue Beetle. And now this is the recently released DC film. That this was the beginning of James Gunn's DCU. And plus, I love the show. Marco Yas's performance as how Jaime Reyes, he definitely brought his A-game, especially as we know him as Miguel Diaz from Cobra Kai. But even though with the film overall, it was so sort of good, but at the same time, it kind of felt like those other superhero movies that we've seen. But even though like this has like an awesome cast, and plus, I love the George Lopez. I thought he was the absolute standout as Rudy, and even with the Reyes family are so fun to interact with. But even with the film overall, it was a sort of solid, but it definitely had like the way of villain with Susan Sarandon. I thought she was a good villain, but even with the film overall, I thought it'd be good. But at the same time, it was a solid entry, sort of, especially with this being in James Gunn's DCU. And next, at number 14 is Insidious: The Red Door. And now, even though with this being the fifth entry, I found it to be like a solid, but it was an okay movie, especially with this being Patrick Wilson's directorial debut. But even though with the entirety of the film itself, it certainly felt dull and not feeling like it Insidious movie. But it did have a great potential from the opening minutes of the movie. But even though with the entire movie itself, it's especially with Dalton going to college, and even experience those feelings in life, I felt like it had like it was a tiny little plot point, especially the family dynamic, even with Dalton and now in college. It certainly felt off, and I found this to be an okay entry. And next, at number 13 is The Flash. And now this was the film that was gonna reset the entire DCEU and to proceed with James Gunn's DCU. But even though with the film that had us with more questions instead of answers, but I thought this was a solid film. But even though with the others say that it's outright bad, but I found this to be a good film. Plus, we experienced the multiverse. Plus, I love the Sasha Calle Supergirl. I thought she had definitely brought her A game, and even with Ezra Miller, I totally brought the comedy, and he was good to enjoy on screen. Even Michael Keaton's Batman, he had definitely brought his best, but even with the film overall, it was a fast pace, but even towards the end of the film, which sort of got me confused, which I did not like at all. But even with the film that had even more questions than answers. And next, at number 12 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now, this was the fifth and last entry in the franchise with Harrison Ford's last time as Indiana Jones. And even with the film, which I did enjoy from the opening minutes of the movie, but even with the film overall, it even felt like an Indiana Jones film. Plus, I liked Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I liked her performance, especially with the chemistry between her and Indy. It's sort of felt good, but at the same time, it has so many plot holes, and even with the third act, which I totally found to be not good. Even with Mads Mikkelsen as the bad guy, and just even so, I found it to be a solid, good entry, but at the same time, it was certainly not good. But I had my good experience with it. And next, at number 11 is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. And even this film that came out in the overcrowded summer release schedule, and even with fans of Transformers who really dubbed the heck out of this film. Even as for me, I mean, I'm not that big of a Transformers fan, but even with the film overall, it was sort of good. But at the same time, I thought it was a solid entry. But even with Optimus Prime and the Maxwells, they were fun to enjoy on screen, and the world of Transformers was definitely good too. I love Anthony Ramos as a lead, and especially with Dominic Fishback. I love their chemistry, and even with the film overall, I found it to be okay. But it was a sort of good, but at the same time, I kind of felt to be not good. It's sort of a mixed bag for me. But even towards the end in there, it sort of got me confused as well. But it was an okay and just a good entry. And next, at number 10 is Fast X, aka Fast and Furious 10, and now I found this to be an okay entry. It was a slight improvement from F9, but even with this film, so many plot points, it was all over the place. Even Jason Momoa as a villain, which I loved, and even with Brie Larson and John Cena, what highlights me, especially with John Cena, I definitely brought the humor and the comedy. There was a peacemaker vibes, but even with the film overall, it was convoluted and even messy as well, but I definitely found it to be good, but just a solid entry. And even with more films that are confirmed to be in this trilogy, to end this franchise, even with this franchise, it never ends. But even with the film overall, it was okay. Next, and number 9 is Elemental, and I think that this was Pixar's first rom-com, especially I love the chemistry between Amber and Wade. Their chemistry was awesome to see. I love their relationship, especially with the world of Element City, with the combine all the elements with water and fire, and even with a Pixar that was trying to do something new and totally original. But I thought it was good, but at the same time, it kind of lost that flair in between. But I thought this was a beautiful story between the two, and this was just a fun Pixar film. And next, at number 8 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, and this was a fun and awesome anime movie with the turtles, and even with the animation, I totally felt like the animated Spider-Verse films, and just with the overall lore and story of the turtles, it kind of felt great to see on screen, and the animation style, and even with the stacked cast. Plus, I love the Jackie Chan as Splinter. He definitely brought the comedic vibes and moments, but even with the entire gang with John Cena, Ice Cube, who I loved as Superfly as a villain, even with Paul Rudd as well. But even with the entire movie itself, I kind of feel a slightly good, but at the same time, I kind of felt to be really great. And next at number 7 is The Little Mermaid. Now this is the live action remake with Halle Bailey as Ariel, and this was like and also filmed to witness on screen how they brought to life with the sea, especially with the songs. With Halle Bailey, I definitely crushed it as an Ariel. She gave a beautiful singing voice, especially as I adore Halle Bailey in this role. But even with the movie itself, I pretty much enjoyed, especially with Melissa McCarthy as Ursula, especially with Prince Eric. They was like doing King or something like that. But even with Prince Eric and Ariel, I love the chemistry, and I thought this was like a great movie. I found it better than the original, but even with this film, I thought it was a great live action remake. And next at number 6 is Touch Me. Now this is a new horror film from A24, and this was the most terrifying and disturbing film I've seen. Like this is unlike anything that we've seen from horror with Talking Hand and Conjuring Evil Spirits. And plus, I mean, I like the cast with Sophie Wilde as Mia, especially with this movie directed by YouTubers and Danny and Michael Filipino. And even with the ending, that was absolutely insane and wild. And plus, there's already a sequel confirmed. And I can't wait to see it for what they fit into the lore, especially with this new style of horror. And next at number 5 is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. And now I feel like with this entry, I feel like that this was amazing, and sometimes like it was like a really good. Even with the film itself, I just enjoyed it, especially with the stunts and the action, with everything that Tom Cruise that delivered it, and like never fails. And even with my favorite sequence, with being the motorcycle off a cliff into a base jump, or even with the train sequence, especially with Sam Morales, which I found to be a great villain, especially with the use of AI and with the entity, and it's even with the stunts that really take it up a notch, especially with the car chase in Rome, and that's with everything else. I found to be a great entry. Plus, I can't wait to see for what's in store for part 2. And next at number 4 is Oppenheimer. Now this is the new film from Christopher Nolan, and this was a fantastic and outright masterpiece, especially with Cillian Murphy, who definitely crushed it in this role. And even though with this being centered on a biopic about the creation of the atomic bomb, being based on a true story, and even though with this film having a stat cast, with everyone's chemistry with each other, that was totally fun to see. And even though with this film being like almost there was long and definitely feel that. But this was just a fantastic. It was amazing to see Christopher Nolan's filmography unfold in this film, especially as I enjoyed it, especially even with the quantum theory, with everything being like in it. Plus, I felt this one deserved to be seen on a big IMAX screen. And next at number 3 is Barbie. And now this was just a pure joy and just fun to watch on screen, especially as I love the chemistry between Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as both Barbie and Ken. As I even love the atmosphere of Barbie Land, and even though with the soundtrack that is a banger, and there's even with everything about it, I just love it, and the fact that it crossed like $1 billion at the box office, and plus it went big, especially with the memes of Barbenheimer. But even throughout the movie, it just felt like a feel-good story, and even it sends out like a beautiful messages, especially about women as well. But I really found it to be really good and really fascinating. And even with just everyone else, I just enjoyed it. And even with Barbie and Ken, I just loved everything about it, especially after I watched this 2 times in theaters. And next at number 2 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and now I thought this would be a great sequel to the first one, even continuing the story of Miles Morales, and even with the chemistry between Miles and Gwen, it was really explored well. And even with Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, which I found to be a great villain, and even with well-inspired people, even with this society that like Miles wants to fit in, even with people that were after Miles, and even exploring the multiverse, and things got wild and crazy from there, especially after that cliffhanger. I totally set up everything for the next one, probably the last one beyond the Spider-Verse. You ended with Spider-India and Spider-Punk, with all the other Spider-Man variants that they're fun to enjoy, even with the Spot as the villain who is going after Miles and his family. It was definitely fun to enjoy. and I just really enjoyed everything about it, and the fact that we can't like get it beyond the Spider-Verse next year, but I'll be totally fine getting it wherever it is ready. But I'm just ready for Beyond the Spider-Verse. But coming at lastly at number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And now, even though with this being like the last one in the trilogy, and James Gunn did a brilliant job with this film, and like gave us some like awesome action moments and some emotional parts as well. Even though with this one, it does like a great job. I found it make us laugh and cry at the same time. And this was a perfect setup for the Guardians, and even with the Rocket's backstory that was truly explored well, especially with the high evolutionary, which I found to be a great villain. He was truly like a menacing, and just even so, this was an awesome finale for the Guardians, and I just really enjoyed everything. And this was the perfect setup, and just like a great finale. And yeah, so this is my list of all the summer movies that I've seen in 2023, and this was like a big summer for film and TV, and even all the films that we're getting for the rest of the year, and I'm pretty sure that those are my most anticipated as well. But I'm excited for all the rest of the movies that are coming out for the rest of this year. But even though we have all the films that we got this summer, this was truly a great summer for film, and I just really enjoy these movies and experiencing them with you all as well. So yeah, this was a fun ranking, and I can see for what's next for probably other films coming out the rest of the year as well. And so that is gonna be our first video. Let me know what you guys thoughts in the comments below, and what thoughts on my ranking and how to rank all the summer movies that came out this year. Let me know in the comments below. Give this video a like and subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos, and also follow my socials which are linked down below. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.